Johnson from Revolution Taxidermy Supply, and I would like to spend a few minutes to show you some of the features of my new Ultimate Pro earbud system heads. Now, those of you that know about Revolution, we're the only company on the market that offers different heads that you can pick when you order your form that comes with the same torso. So in other words, as we know, deer vary from the north to the south, the different subspecies, large nose, small nose, wide eyes, narrow faces, wide faces. So what I did is, and it's a lot more costly for me to run the business, but to try to bring to the market the absolute best white-tailed deer mannequins in the world, bar nothing, I developed this system. And basically what I do is I mold a head of a deer right here on the neck part of the face. So then I actually have different head molds that I can put on what we call our torso molds here, attach them there, and we can pour them independently depending on which ones that you want. And how we do that is you would order a form which has a number that is on it, which represents the torso here, the body part, and then next to it, if you pick what we call a custom option head, you pick out whatever head you want, and those are all lettered, and you add that letter to the end of your order number. We then have to find that head, attach it to the mold, and custom pour it. So that's why it takes a little longer in your shipments because of it, and it costs us more money to make them. But in the end, you're getting a custom form that's designed for you, because we're designing these heads for specific taxidermists in specific parts of the countries to bring out different features that nothing else like this on the market even compares to what the system is. Well, what I did this last winter is I thought, what can I do to make it even better? What are some other features that I can put in an option head? Well, one of them that I came up with, which is what this is, we call it the Ultimate Pro 3D earbud system, is basically what I did is I built the earbutts right onto the head mannequin. But the problem with building earbutts in a mannequin is the ears can go in 4 basic different positions. They can go both forward, they can go both back, or you can have right forward, left back, or left forward, right back. So how in the world can I do this? Well, I thought the idea was such a great idea that what I did was I made the exact same head with earbutts in 4 different earbuds positions. So as this one that you see here, this is his right ear is forward, this is his left ear that's back. You can buy this exact same head form, and this one here is the 7 3/4 inch nose to eye measurement. We call this the EL head, but you can buy the same head in the 4 different ear configurations. And then again, you get about a 10 to 20% play with the ear liner when it's placed into the earbud, so you're not locked into that exact angle. Plus you end up having foam earbuds that you can shave down to change. What I want to do is show you some of the features of this mannequin with the earbuds, the Ultimate 3D Ultimate Pro earbuds, this complete system, to show you some advantages that you may want to try for your next mount. So I'll grab this form here on the floor so I can show you some of the features. Now, one of the first things for you to understand is this mold is a 3-piece mold. Normally when you buy a taxidermy mannequin, there's always a parting line down the middle, and it goes down the middle of the head. For me to accomplish what I wanted in these earbuds, I had to make a special extra piece mold to accomplish this. And that again costs more money to make, and it costs more money to manufacture. But here's what it allowed me to do. In a traditional 2-piece mold, if I can turn this in the camera for you to see this, when the flashing line, the parting line, or the dam line as we call it, comes down the middle, this creates a negative draft or a lock in this part of the head. When you pull the mannequin out, it rubs here. So what most taxidermy supply companies do is they fill in this area here, and they take the eyebrow and they knock the eyebrow down. Well, since I'm doing a 3-piece mold here, that allows me to create what I call a deep dish forehead. What a deep dish forehead is, if I can show you this here, I got to turn it just right so you can see it in the light. And the Silver Babe, the beautiful Doris, if she'll tell me when that looks about right, I'll hold it. She's giving me the nod, that'll work. What this does, this allows me to raise my eyebrow up nice and high and to dish this in here. Well, what this does is it'll show, especially on early season bucks, you will see how the hair pattern, there's a hair pattern hairline that goes from above the eyebrow to the middle of the burr on each individual antler. That's this point right here. But to exemplify this, this bump that's here, this protrusion, you literally need this concave dip to be able to be put in here to make this stand out. This hairline will not stand out if this is filled in. So this is a little feature that to me really accents the hair pattern. Again, it's especially on an early season deer or any of down south, any of the finer furred deer capes that you mount. Okay, now we're going to go from the side here. Going back, what you'll notice here is on the antler slot, you notice this is filled in. It's not cut all the way off. What this does, this allows you, instead of attaching your antlers and having to take clay or mache and building this area up, this is already built up for you. So this is giving you continuity for your antler slot into the side of your head, behind your eye orbit, in front of your ear butt, that you've never seen anything like this before. In fact, the whole antler slot is basically a box that's totally enclosed, wrapped around it with anatomical detail, which is made out of foam. It's reproduced in foam, so that again it allows you beautifully to rasp it down, to sand it, or for your hide paste to be able to stick to it. If all of this is built up out of clay or mache, you have to build it up, you have to take the measurements, you have to get the proportions right. With this, it's built in for you right out of the mold. Okay, now in the middle of this antler slot cavity, you'll notice an artificial brain that's reproduced here. What that is done is that is designed to basically three things. It supports your antlers and holds them in the correct place when you screw them down into the mannequin block. It also orients them at the correct height. It also orients them at the correct tilt, front and back, and it also has a line right down the middle. So if you take a Sharpie mark and you mark it right down the middle of your antlers before you put it on, you have a perfect distinct line in the back of your head, down the middle of this, we call it the automatic antler set, which is a reproduced brain, and the front. There's a tiny little line here. So you can get your antlers centered to within a millimeter. On a typical form, there's nothing there to go by, so you're kind of standing back by it and using, by guessing by gully, you're using your eye. This is very accurate. Now, some other features, and of course I'm going to get to the earbutts, which is the main thing. I want to show you the back of the head. These earbutts, I spent a great deal of time studying deer's ears and earbutts and relationships to the head, to the eye, to the antlers, when the ears move, what the earbutts do. I want you to pay particular attention to the back of the head here. You'll see a dip that's in here. This particular form is both ears forward. In this bump that is here versus this dip, this is the back of the skull that I've sculptured in to replicate the way that the real deer would be. When the ear goes forward and these muscles here on the side pull forward, there's a natural dip that is right in here. It's very distinct. When the ear goes back, this dip will actually be filled in. And that's what it shows on the back of this mannequin. You can't see it here, but when this ear goes back, this area right here, which would be here on that mannequin, that gets filled in. And if you don't study the anatomy of a deer, you think, oh man, he messed up on that. Why? He's got that too thick here and too thin over there. No, that's the way that it is on the actual live deer, and it's a feature that comes for you all built in. And can you imagine having this earbutt in the correct relationship to where your antler goes, to where your eye is, to where your jaw muscle is, to the back of the head? All of that is built in there for you. Okay? Now, there is a concern or a problem for you to be able to get your antlers in here, something that you're not used to. Since all this detail is built in for you, what I did is, to be able to get the antlers to fit in here, you have to cut your antlers smaller. You have to cut away more bone to be able to get it fit in, which is no problem. You just have to learn the process of how much to take off. In other words, since the back of the head is sculptured in, you have to cut off the back part of the antlers. Now, to me, when I was in taxidermy when I did this, I thought that was a good feature because I didn't have to spend all the time taking out the cervical ligament, cleaning all that in the back of the skull. So you cut that off there. Then the other thing is in the front of your antlers where they come into the eye orbit here, those corners I cut off on a bandsaw if you have one, and I V them away. So in other words, when I'm done, I don't end up with a lot of antler skull that I have to clean or to use, but I have to trim it to be able to get it to fit in here right. And we've got in other videos that you can see, we've got different measuring gauges for you to place your antlers to get them in here absolutely perfect, because my system is extremely scientific, extremely precise. So one of the key components is that the antlers have to be placed in here right. So if you go to some of our other videos or in our catalog, you'll see a different chart that I made to help you get your antlers put in here basically perfect. So, okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the earbutts. And we'll go to this one here. And again, as I said, this is a 7 3/4 inch head mannequin. And it's called the EL. And that's what you would order if you wanted this one here. And that means the right ear's forward, the left one's back. Again, you can get these in any 4 configurations. Now, to show you, I want to show you a little bit of the play. I've got this put in with the T-pin. So I've got to take this T-pin out here. These earbutts are made for you to put the ear in, hit it exactly perfectly at the angle that I designed it. But let's say you have a low angle, a rack where the tine comes lower, or the beam comes lower. Let's say you want it to go back farther. Let's say you want it to go down more, you want to go up higher. These take up, what I did is I recreated about 75 to 85% of the earbud for you, but I left just enough of it open on the end so you still have got that play. With traditional earbutts that you buy to fit these ear liners, you have to attach them to the head, which is a problem because how far back do they go? How high do they go? What is the angle they go? They then snap in, and what if you want to move it a little bit? You don't have any play. Look at the play that I have with this without any alterations whatsoever. In fact, all you need, as I'll show you later, to transition the clay here is a piece of clay 1/4 inch thick, 6 inches long, that you put this in place and you just wrap it around there. Just a little snake or a little tube of clay. There's absolutely nothing to it. Let's say you want that ear to go back farther. Well, again, since this earbutt is not made out of hard plastic, it's made out of taxidermy foam, all you have to do is take the back part of the head here, take a knife and cut it away, or a Dremel tool, or some sandpaper, and just sand it back so that goes just exactly the way you want it. Now, what I recommend when you mount these is you put your antlers on, you put your ears in place, and you adjust your ears according to your antlers before you mount the deer. You then take your piece of clay, roll that up in place here, transition it onto the ear liner, and take the ear liner out. You then take the ear liner, put it in the cape, glue or epoxy that in your cape. When you put this back on, boom, it's going to fit exactly where you had it placed ahead of time. Okay? So, again, some of the other advantages of this is not only is the placement right, since you have foam here, your deer head is going to dry quicker because look at all that you're saving in clay that you're not having to put there. The other thing is if you recreate all this detail, and this gets into the people that want competition work, if you recreate all this detail out of clay before you mount it, you put your cape on there, think what you're trying to do. You're trying to glue your wet cape to wet clay. Well, that's just not going to work. So what you have to do is spend days as the skin dries working in your skin to the clay, and guess what happens when you try to work the clay? The clay mashes out on you and you lose all this detail. Since this is in hard foam and you can sand this down to have your skin stick to it, you can actually put a pin right here in this anatomical detail, and if you have a short-haired cape, it's going to be able to show you all that detail. And if you want to take something out or add something, since it's foam, it sands like butter. There's nothing to it, and that's what we're used to doing as taxidermists, working with this foam. So it's very, very, very user-friendly. And then again, with these earbutts, what I did is unlike this. This is an upright, ears forward ear. And what I did when I designed this, I designed it so the ear would go up when you put it in place higher, more erect than I would want it. Now, deer vary, so if anybody tells you they're at a certain angle, like they're 45 degrees is a standard angle, which is true, but sometimes they're more erect. If they get too erect, they start looking like a rabbit. Well, sometimes you may have a little skinnier rack, and you want to make the rack not look so small, so you may want to bring the ears up a little bit. So I made this so you can put the ear in place, automatically pop the ears forward in place, so when they both go in there, you put them in there, you have automatic symmetry. Now think about how difficult an ears forward deer is to do. You got to get all your ear bases right here, this juncture. You got to get them the right height. You got to get them forward. You got to get the tilt up and down right, front and back right, and you're staying in the back. And to me, it's the hardest thing there is to do is an ears forward symmetry. They look stiff. They're very hard to do. With this mannequin, boom, you pop them in there, you're there right off the bat. They're automatically going to be centered the same. And then if you want to bring them down a little bit, like this here, all it takes is you just bring it down a little bit and add a little bit of clay there to that. And of course this one is ears back, but we have them in, like I said, in all 4 positions. So again, the advantages are you have perfect, to me, one of the biggest advantages, you have continuity between the eye, the antler, and the ear. And if you've read any of my writings, I'm very big on the triangular relationship from the eye going to the antler back to the ear, from the ear going back to the eye. There's a triangular relationship there, and if any one of those gets off, it's very, very noticeable. Well, now by having the ear butt attached to the mannequin, it also is fitting with the back of the head coming down to the neck. Yes, since we have different heads, that you have to transition where our head seems onto the neck. We get a few complaints, people call up, why do I got to sand that down? Well, you're getting the option of different anatomical heads attached to the same neck, so of course they're going to vary. So just a little bit of sanding, a little bit of clay to transition that is par for the course with this system. So anyway, this is the 3D Ultimate Pro earbud system. And I think if you give one a try, I think you'll be very pleased. And I think your customers will be especially pleased.